Welcome back. Parents of teens and tweens, you probably want to listen up to our next guest. Beth Pickett is the founder of College Prep Counseling. Her clients and students have earned admission to Harvard, Yale, Brown, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Stanford, and many other colleges and universities across the U.S. She helps guide families and mentor students as they navigate the rite of passage that is selective college admissions. She joins us now to chat about her upcoming book, College Admissions, the Essential Guide for Busy Parents. We're so happy to have you here, Beth.
Thank you for having me, Dr. D.
Parents and students are under so much stress and often getting into so much debt. Where should families start in the college financial planning process?
They should start before the student finalizes their college list. There are basically two categories of colleges that the family should be looking at. If they have need, they should be looking at the colleges that give a lot of need-based aid. If they won't qualify for need-based aid and they can't just write a check for $80,000 a year for 4 years, they should be looking for schools that give good merit aid.
Tell us about the costs of schools. These days, how much does college cost? And are parents actually able to pay, or are the students taking on this debt?
A lot of the parents are taking on the majority of the debt. The students can only borrow so much. So let's talk about those costs because they are increasing every year way more than most people's income is going up. And so right now, the private colleges, those top-notch private colleges, Harvard, Stanford, are in the $80,000 to $85,000 per year range. The colleges that are, the state colleges, so the SUNY colleges, I'd have to double check on those specifically. Usually those are in the $25,000 to $40,000 per year range. But that is what we call the cost of attendance. And those numbers, you can look on any college's website to see what they say. Here's the sticker price of our college. But there's a trick. Most families do not pay the sticker price. So that's where we need to go in and help the families figure out what is their expected family contribution. This is a number that the government will calculate based on a form called the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So there's a calculation there of what the government thinks the family can pay is subtracted from the cost of attendance, and that leaves how much your need is. At need-based schools, they'll meet up to 100% of that need, but some colleges don't meet that need. So there's some calculations they need to figure out early on.
What can you tell us about scholarships?
Scholarships come in a few different sorts of packages. So again, there are need-based aid. Sometimes they just call that financial aid. And if the cost of attendance of a college is $80,000 and your expected family contribution is $20,000, you have $60,000 worth of need. And that need can be met by the colleges in grants or scholarships, free money that you don't have to pay back. That's what you're looking for. Or they can stick a bunch of loans on there, and that's kind of a problem. Merit scholarships, doesn't matter. You could be Bill Gates' kid and get a merit scholarship at a variety of colleges that do offer merit. Not all of them do. And that is also basically free money, or in some cases, almost you can look at it as a discount on the tuition.
My son, we just celebrated my son's bar mitzvah, which means he turned 13. He's going into 8th grade.
Okay.
When should a family start doing their calculations and figure out what college might cost them and what path do they take? At what point do we start?
I'm so glad you asked that because most families don't understand quite how early the financial aid starts to, the calculations are considered. So when your student hits sophomore year, the January that they are sophomores, finishing sophomore year through the December 31st of their junior year, that year is your base year that the calculations will look at your income. So if you want to find some legal and ethical ways to decrease your income by putting more, into retirement accounts or otherwise legally and ethically moving that around so that it is not part of the calculations, it can save you money and help you qualify for more financial aid. So most people don't realize it happens that early. The asset part of it, so there's the income for 2 years prior to when they graduate. The asset part is on the day that you're filling out those financial aid forms for the FAFSA in usually October, November of the student's senior year. So there are these two different snapshots that will affect your financial aid.
Can you give us just a few more tips and resources?
Sure. So I have a whole chapter in my book on financial aid and how to calculate that and going through those, and some spreadsheets on my website that will tell you for each college, do they offer merit aid? If so, maybe they offer really good merit aid for 1 or 2% of the students. That's not going to help generally. Or do they offer good merit aid for a larger percentage of the students? Or maybe they offer need-based aid, but no merit aid. The Ivy League universities offer great need-based aid, often with no loans, no merit aid, not one dime ever. So it's really important that you understand where each college on your student's list fits your family's situation before the student actually applies. You don't want the student to get all the way in spring and say, hooray, I got into this great college, and suddenly the family decides they can't afford it. That needs to be determined before they make the whole application effort with the essays and get the recommendations and all of that.
Thanks so much, Beth.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.